We're back. We're still going to talk about, of course, the tankard and Brock Virtue. Now, one of the issues, of course, was Chris Shilley is second. Foul language was used. They were told prior to both by the officials and Amber Holland, who's the executive director of the Saskatchewan Curling Association, to maybe tone it down. Not just them, but all curlers in general going to the tankard. That didn't seem to be the case going to the semifinal with Shilley, who used some foul language and was told that he had to be dismissed. 15 seconds to get off the ice, another 5 minutes to get out of the rink entirely. Now, Deanna Rindall, who was the alternate head official, told the Star Phoenix, the Saskatoon paper, that they've been told earlier in the week that using bad language on the ice was prohibited, and they disobeyed that. They broke the rules, and they're off. Now, this is not just an issue with Virtue, and I don't want to just criticize him or Shilley or anybody, but this has been a thing that's been ongoing with many teams.
Oh, for sure. And you know, I'm surprised they only got one warning. You know, was there more? Well, we don't know. We only know about the one. It seems to me that the day before, I know there was another player that they were trying to eject from a game. I don't know if this made headlines or not, but the officials kind of lost control when they tried to eject a player the day before and he didn't leave. So, I mean, when you're having those types of things happening in the event, they'll really want to take a little more muscle from the official standpoint, and of course it fell on Shilley. With one warning and then getting the boot, I don't know. But those rules are there and they're meant to be followed, and if you don't follow those rules, you're going to get booted. That's plain and simple.
You know, a lot of times in curling, and you know, back in the days when I was a broadcaster, being on the ice, and there's a few things said that I know, like what you see on CBC or TSN, you have the curlers mic'd up. They know they're mic'd up, and everybody around them knows they're mic'd up, so you're not going to hear anything like that. But trust me, without the mic, yeah, there's some colorful stuff that happens every once in a while. Going back to the dates me, Paul Gauzel, who was a character in his own right. All those curling fans out there remember him. And I don't think you hear it about incidents like this too often, but it does happen.
It's going to continue to happen. I mean, the players want the media to do the 3-minute delay or something like that so they can rant and rave and maybe get it out of their system. Maybe they need to play the game a little different way. We were the only team at one of our events that never received a warning. You know, and so out of 16 teams, and there's one team that doesn't get a warning, and it just happened to be me. So I've never had a warning. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to be ejected from a game because I don't play the game that way. So, you know, the officials can't lose, you know, control over the event. It needs to be policed somewhat, but they don't over-police it. And I think this is the first time ever a player's got the boot from an important game. That was a B qualifier.
And that was the semi, and they actually did qualify the final, which Shilley participated, and they did win, so no harm, no foul in that case. I do want to get to the Brier, though. You now have Virtue as the representative of Saskatchewan. You have Kevin Martin, you have Stoughton in there. You have Glenn Howard from Ontario, Brad Gushu. You have plenty of these big names who've had a lot of accolades. Who is your favorite? Even if it's not those four, anybody else that you might say, you know what, have a good, strong chance in Edmonton?
Jeez.
That's quite a field.
Some of those ranks you're mentioning, like, you know, Jeff Stoughton, he's looked great so far this season. You know, it's
I think one of his wins came out in Edmonton, too, when they held the Brier.
You got to look at those top four, and those the usual suspects are going to be right in there.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, for Virtue to be challenging those top guys, he's going to have to really be on his game. And so many things, like, you know, at the Brier have to come into play. So many things have to go your way, and so many different variables have to really fall into place for you to beat, you know, around that weekend.
Yeah, we're not going to see a rookie team rise from this field. I mean, there's too many of the elite here. Even James Grattan is New Brunswick, but he's making 10th appearance or something like that. You know, those rookie teams like the BC, the Andrew Boleskis, you know, I want to see them do good. I want to see new faces in the sport, but up against the Martins, the Howards, and the Stoughtons all in the same event, it's going to be extremely difficult.
Not quite like the Scotties where, you know, we did have Holman was a strong rink up and coming and then playing so well, and then you had the surprises like Jill Shoemay's rink, of course. But, you know, I do want to say, is there any dark horses that you might say, you know what, could pull an upset?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see the, you know, the newcomers come into this sport and rise above the Kevin Martins and the Howards. Those teams are playing at a different level than the newbies.
Yeah, I can't see it. You know, Scott's right. You have so many, you know, Kevin Martins, you know, just a dominant rink. When he's on his game, there's no one better. And same with Jeff Stout. And then, of course, you'd throw in the Howards. Who's going to beat those guys?
Okay, quickly, who is your pick then? If you had to say just one name.
Oh, Kevin Martin's going to win it. He's in his home club. Well, he's in his home city. He's not in his home club, but he's going to feel right comfortable at home in Rexall Place, and he's going to win.
Greg?
I'm going to say Mr. Stoughton. I just think that the season he's had success in Alberta in the past. You know, Manitoba Rink was in the ladies' final. Manitoba Rink's going to be in the men's final and win it.
All right, we got through that. Now let's talk about Lindy Ruff. Got fired last week as Buffalo Sabres. Long term, he was the longest serving coach up until then. Now it's Barry Trotz of the Nashville Predators. But do you think Lindy Ruff and his firing was, I wouldn't say justified, but around this time? Because he has been around. They've had a few losing seasons, haven't made the playoffs in some time. Do you think that he was a little bit long in the tooth and it was time for him to go?
I think they had to do some changes. Darcy Regier, I'm surprised that actually he's around because they were kind of a package deal. Kind of thought after Lindy got fired, Darcy was going to follow. They had to do something. You know what? And I know the players are to blame for it because the players aren't performing. You can't get rid of 20 players, so you get rid of one guy. And Lindy's the odd guy out.
Yeah, it's too bad he got, you know, the hook. One of the longest serving coaches in the NHL. You know, it's not like Ryan Miller with lightning he fires. You know, he hasn't played well. And what do you do? And you know, Greg just hit the nail on the head. You're not going to replace the whole team. It comes down to the coach.
Ricky Foley is now the new defensive end for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They needed to replace somebody after they lost Odell Willis, who signed with Edmonton on the very first day of free agency. Big upgrade for Saskatchewan here?
I think it's an upgrade. I don't think it's a huge upgrade. Foley's had his share of ups and downs over the last number of years, going from BC to Toronto. I think Odell Willis, I thought Willis was invisible some games this past season for Saskatchewan. I like to see Foley. He's like, you can do a little bit more of the ratio too because him being Canadian, so that's going to help with that factor. But, it's going to be an upgrade, but not a huge upgrade.
Well, nobody wants to play for Edmonton. Everybody wants to play for Saskatchewan. I mean, play for the green, right?
Yes.
That's the way I see it. But, it's a good fit, and they needed some upgrades. Saskatchewan's going to be a stronger team. They got to make some changes.
They're going to be very scary too, which comes to Brendan Taman and the job he's done recently. Bringing in G. Roy Simon, bringing in Dwight Anderson, as much as some people might not like it. They did consult Weston Dressler about this move, and he's a guy, he's a pest. He's a guy that you love to hate, love to have on your team, hate to play against. What do you think if you gave a grade to Taman and what he's done so far in this free agency? What's the grade?
I think more than anything, our defensive secondary in Saskatchewan's really suspect. We need a little bit of swagger there. I think Anderson brings that, a little bit of cockiness. We need to have that little bit of attitude in the back end. And our whole defense doesn't really have a great attitude. And I think with Foley on the defensive line, Anderson in the defensive backfield, I think we have a little bit of swagger, a little bit of cockiness, and we need that right now in Saskatchewan.
And it would be a grade?
I would say probably about a B.
B? It's
going to change the dynamic of the team. I mean, the minute you got players coming in like that, they weren't like that last year. No swagger. I didn't see any of that. That the team dynamic will change. We'll see how they roll with it. I hope they do. I hope it serves them good.
And grade?
Well, B is pretty high, but B minus maybe.
All right, the Scott Manners swagger, if you will, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's what
maybe that's what they'll find.
That's what they'll need. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll have Over Under next.